Okay, let's just dive right into it and cut through all the noise. We are constantly bombarded with these grand, sweeping predictions about artificial intelligence, right? But today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to look at the actual, hard economic data on how AI is affecting jobs literally today. We're basing this whole explainer on a really fascinating news study from researchers at Anthropic, who built a totally new framework for tracking AI out in the wild. Because let's be real, this is absolutely the biggest anxiety in the workforce right now. From corporate boardrooms to university classrooms, everyone is asking the exact same question. Is AI actually taking jobs yet? To get to the bottom of this, we really have to separate the theoretical panic from measured on-the-ground reality. We need to stop guessing. Historically, our biggest labor market panics, think offshoring or early robotics, almost never match what actually happens in the economy. So, let's break down this whole hype versus reality dynamic. And the best place to start is by figuring out how we actually measure true AI exposure. To really understand what's happening, those Anthropic researchers did something incredibly smart. They established a brand new framework. And the absolute most crucial point here is the massive gap between what an AI could theoretically do and what it's actually observed doing in real, everyday workplaces. You see, previous metrics just looked at the theory. They'd ask, could an AI do this task twice as fast? But that completely ignores legal constraints, specific software hurdles, or the simple need for a human double check. This new approach, it measures actual observed exposure. And the data brilliantly illustrates this reality. When you map it out, the space representing AI's theoretical capability across different sectors is massive, but the actual footprint of what AI is being used for right now, it's just a tiny fraction of that. Take the computer and math sector, for example. Theoretically, AI could penetrate about 94% of tasks there, but in reality, it currently covers just 33%. So yeah, AI is far, far from reaching its theoretical limits in the real world. Which brings us to the most exposed occupations. Who is actually using this tech the most right now? Well, based on the actual observed data, computer programmers are sitting right at the very top of the list with a massive 74.5% exposure, mostly driven by writing and updating code. Right behind them, you've got customer service representatives at 70.1% and data entry keyers at 67.1%. As you go further down, you see roles like market research analysts, financial analysts, and information security analysts. Basically, these are the specific jobs where the rubber is really meeting the road with AI today. But on the flip side, we have to acknowledge the limits of this tech. A full 30% of workers have literally zero observed AI coverage. We're talking about roles like cooks, motorcycle mechanics, lifeguards, dishwashers. Jobs where you absolutely have to have a physical, real-world presence. A language model just can't do that. Now, things get really interesting when you map this exposure to future job growth. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics actually projects a slight downward trend over the next decade. Basically, for every 10 percentage point increase in AI coverage a job has, its projected growth drops by 0.6 percentage points. So the government's own analysts are predicting slightly weaker growth over the next 10 years for those highly exposed jobs we just talked about. So who exactly are these workers bearing the brunt of this exposure? Let's look at the demographics. When you really break down the numbers, the people in the most exposed professions are highly established in the workforce. Compared to folks with zero exposure, workers in the top tier of AI exposure are generally older. They're also 16 percentage points more likely to be female, and they are significantly more educated. In fact, they have almost 4 times as many graduate degrees as the unexposed group. And here is a wild twist. These highly AI-exposed workers also earn, on average, 47% more than those with zero exposure. So we aren't talking about fragile, entry-level gigs here. We are talking about well-paid, highly educated professionals doing complex knowledge work. These are core mid-career professional roles. Which naturally leads to the big question, is unemployment actually rising for these people? The answer? A definitive, absolute no. When you track the unemployment trends for highly exposed workers versus unexposed workers, it's pretty surprising. If you look at the timeline right after ChatGPT was released in late 2022, the unemployment rate for those highly exposed workers is completely flat. Think about it. If AI was causing mass layoffs in these sectors, we'd see a huge spike in the data. But we just don't. The researchers put it perfectly. They explicitly state, we find no systematic increase in unemployment for highly exposed workers since late 2022. This is a massive, massive takeaway.
It means mid-career professionals in these roles are holding their ground completely securely. AI isn't replacing them right now, it's just augmenting their workflows. It's making them faster, not sending them to the unemployment line. But before we celebrate too much, there is a serious warning here for young workers. While those mid-career programmers and analysts seem totally secure, what if you're just graduating? For students who are looking to enter the workforce in the next 1 to 2 years, the data is definitely telling a more concerning story about what the path forward actually looks like. Let's look at the new job starts for younger workers, specifically those aged 22 to 25. Starting around 2024, there's a really noticeable divergence. The rate of these young workers entering highly exposed occupations actually starts to dip, moving in the opposite direction of unexposed jobs. Basically, the hiring of 22 to 25-year-olds into these tech-heavy, exposed roles has perceptibly slowed down. Specifically, the researchers pinpointed a 14% drop in the job-finding rate for young workers in these fields, compared to the baseline from 2022. Now, while that's barely statistically significant at the moment, it is a crucial early signal. What's happening is that companies aren't firing their senior developers. Instead, AI is making those senior teams so incredibly efficient that they just don't need to hire as many juniors. So, if we step back, what's the actual core narrative of the labor market right now? It's not about AI causing mass layoffs. It's about slower hiring, not mass firing. We're seeing a quiet, gradual contraction in entry-level hiring for recent grads in these specific knowledge work sectors. That is the actual measured reality of how AI is shaping the economy today. So as that gap between theoretical AI and observed reality slowly starts to close, the whole landscape is shifting. If you're a student or a recent grad, the challenge in front of you is pretty clear. If companies are using AI to instantly boost the output of their experienced workers, what unique, distinctly human skills are you going to cultivate to make yourself irreplaceable? The data shows the door certainly isn't closed, but the key to getting inside, that's officially changed. Think about it. Keep learning, and we'll catch you next time.